I'll never forget what happened to me that night. Some people will say I imagined it. Others might say it was just one of those strange things that happen in life. But I know what I saw, and I know it's real. I grew up in a small village in northern Nigeria. It wasn't much a few mud houses, a market square, and fields stretching out into the horizon. In the middle of the village stood an old baobab tree. It was massive, with roots so thick they seemed to claw at the earth. The elders said the tree was as old as the village itself. We called it the listening tree, not because it listened to us, but because it whispered. If you stood close to the tree at night, you could hear soft whispers coming from it. It was faint, like voices carried by the wind. The elders told us it was the spirits of our ancestors, speaking to those who had the ears to hear. Growing up, I never paid much attention to the stories. They were just tales the old people told to keep us from staying out too late. Don't go near the baobab after dark, they'd say. You might hear something you are not meant to hear. But when you are young, you don't listen to warnings like that. You think you are smarter than everyone else. It all started one evening when I was about 16. My friend Musa and I were sitting outside my house, talking about nothing in particular. The sun was setting and the village was quiet. Musa was the adventurous type, always looking for something exciting to do. Let's go to the baobab, he said suddenly. Why? I asked, laughing. Don't you want to know if the whispers are real? He said. Come on, it'll be fun. I hesitated. I wasn't afraid of the tree, but there was something about the idea of going there at night that made me uneasy. Still, I didn't want to seem like a coward. Fine, I said, but just for a few minutes. We waited until the village was asleep before we set out. The moon was full, casting long shadows across the ground. The baobab tree loomed in the distance, its branches stretching out like arms. As we got closer, the air seemed to grow colder. I told myself it was just the night breeze, but deep down I felt something wasn't right. We stopped a few feet from the tree. It was even bigger up close, its trunk covered in deep grooves and scars. Musa grinned and walked up to it, placing his hand on the bark. See, nothing to be afraid of, he said. I stayed where I was, my heart pounding. That's when I heard the whispering. At first, it was so soft I thought I was imagining it. But then it grew louder. It wasn't just one voice, it was many, all speaking at once. The words didn't make sense, but they sent a chill down my spine. Musa, I whispered, do you hear that? He nodded, his grin fading. Yeah, I hear it. We stood there, frozen, as the whispers grew louder. It was like the tree was alive, its branches creaking in the wind. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the whispering stopped. Let's go, I said, my voice shaking. But Musa didn't move. He was staring at the tree, his eyes wide. What's wrong? I asked. Someone's calling me, he said. I frowned. What are you talking about? There's no one here. He shook his head. No, I heard it, my name. They're calling me. Before I could stop him, he walked around to the other side of the tree. I called out to him, but he didn't answer. I ran after him, my heart racing. When I got to the other side of the tree, Musa was gone. I looked around, but there was no sign of him. It was like he had vanished into thin air. I shouted his name, but all I heard was the rustling of the leaves. Panicked, I ran back to the village and woke up my father. I told him what happened, and soon the entire village was searching for Musa. We searched for days, but we never found him. Some people said he must have run away, but I knew that wasn't true. He wouldn't have left without telling me. The elders said the tree had taken him. The listening tree only takes those who ignore its warnings, one of them said. Musa heard something he wasn't meant to hear. I didn't believe them at first, but then, a few weeks later, I started having dreams about the tree. In the dreams, I was standing beneath the baobab and the whispers were all around me. They were louder this time, almost like shouting. I couldn't understand the words, but I felt like they were calling to me. One night, I dreamt that Musa was standing beneath the tree. He looked at me and said, "Come and listen." I woke up in a cold sweat, my heart pounding. I didn't know what to do. The dreams kept coming, and they got worse every time. I started avoiding the tree, even during the day. But no matter how far I stayed, I couldn't escape it. The whispers were in my head, following me everywhere I went. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I decided to go back to the tree, to face whatever was haunting me.